Recently I've made a couple of videos about the Australian Special Forces and in particular the SASR unit, and today I'm going to be learning a little bit more about that, and in particular the actual entry process, the entry requirements. I think that's always something that's interesting when looking at elite special forces units. It varies obviously between different countries, but it's obviously the thing in common is it's very grueling. It's near on impossible to get through. That's why it's only the best of the best that do get through. So this is how to join the SASR, the Australian Special Forces. Let's check out. If you know anybody that's went through this, if you went through it yourself, tell me your experience. Let's learn.
The Special Air Service Regiment, commonly abbreviated to the SASR, was formed in 1957 and is a Special Forces unit in the Australian Army. Despite being very similar to their British counterparts in name and role, they go through a different selection process. Any serving members of the Australian Defence Force are able to apply for selection as long as they are up to a 343-2 infantryman standard, and those who aren't must undergo the 72-day Infantry Operations Basic course. The next stage of joining the SASR is for the candidates to attend the 6-week-long Special Forces Accelerated Infantry Training Programme, where they are prepared for the Special Forces screen test, as well as overall life in the Special Forces. Over the 6 weeks, candidates are given advanced training in weapons, navigation, first aid and fieldcraft, and whilst at the programme they still begin the 15 weeks long Commando Physical Training Package, which gets them physically fit for the next and final stage of the preparation phase, which is the Special Forces screen test. This is a 7-hour assessment, which includes a range of fitness tests such as push-ups, sit-ups, heaves, vertical leaps, an agility test, a swim test, and a 5-kilometre pack march carrying 40 kilograms. There is no minimum requirement to these tests, and instead the candidates are measured against each other, so it is important to achieve the best in your group. In addition to physical tests, candidates must undergo an interview before a Special Forces panel. Upon completion of this stage, the candidates move on to the SAS selection course, which lasts for 21 days and takes place twice a year. In the first week of the course, the candidates will be issued their weapon and course kit, undergo physical training for hours on end, undergo psychological interviews, complete a 20-kilometre march carrying 28 kilograms in under 3 hours 15 minutes, and complete numerous obstacle courses. The final part of the first week of selection is a solo navigation exercise, which takes place across day 6 and 7 and sees candidates go through a number of checkpoints across a distance of around 70 kilometres. The next week of selection sees the recruits undergo scenario exercise, which involves them planning missions, increased physical training, and arguably the second toughest exercise of the selection begins. Exercise Happy Wanderer sees the recruits dropped off individually in a remote area of Western Australia, carrying 50 kilograms of weight, and they must navigate up to 150 kilometres across mountains and desolate terrain through a number of checkpoints over 5 days.
Wait man, what did they call that? The Happy Wanderer? That one sounds intense. I know there's maybe something similar in the British SAS entry process. They do some long yomp, I think they call it, and it's through, I think, the Welsh valleys. I don't know the length of it, how it compares to this. If you know that, tell me in the comments how this compares, but already, like, everything they're already going through before that sounds intense, but that one just sounds like a bit of a, killer. I know people have actually died in the British one, but that one sounds intense. Out in the remote wilderness in Western Australia for 150 kilometres.
Those who are able to complete this move on to the next selection exercise, the 5-day-long exercise Lucky Dip. Provided with only one hot meal and allowed minimal sleep, this exercise consists of the candidates operating in a fictitious war zone, during which they must complete a range of tasks given to them by the guerrilla leaders, such as carrying items across distances. The candidates are assessed on their leadership ability, as well as their contribution to the team and mission. Those who the DS view aren't up to the calibre needed to be in the Special Forces are sent home, and those who are selected by DS to pass selection are moved on to employment training. This is a 16-month-long reinforcement cycle, during which the recruits complete many courses crucial to operating in the SASR. These include the basic SASR patrol course, urban combat course, demolitions course, basic parachute course, signals course, roping course, the combat first aiders course, combat survival course, and method of entry course. Upon completion of this cycle, the candidates will be awarded their sand-coloured beret and posted to a Sabre squadron in the SASR. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed
There's some other ones. Oh yeah, I watched that one. I think that's the one I watched in Vietnam. But I mean, I've watched a couple of videos, as I mentioned there, about the Australian Special Forces and the successes they've had, the reputation they've had for being this amazing force, in particular SASR, this amazing unit, how successful and how great they are. I mean, when you're training and having an entry requirement like this, obviously you're going to have the best of the best. That's probably why they're one of the best special forces in the world. But for me, as like someone who's never been in the military, to hear what they have to go through, it just sounds like, yeah, like, I mean, insane in a way, but it's the best way to get the best people, of course. Yeah, again, I'd love to hear if people have actually went through that. I would also like to hear how it compares, if you have that knowledge, to other special forces entry processes and things like that. Is this, would you say, the toughest? Is there any other that are tougher in your opinion? But you see, the whole process is so organised at the end of it, having that training where they get trained on so many different skills and things like that as well. So these guys come out just fully loaded, man. It's amazing. I can't wait to watch more about this. I'm enjoying learning about the Australian Special Forces, and if you've got any other videos you think are interesting, tell me and I'll watch them soon. Thanks.